We are in the age of consciousness. Some might call this the age of intuition, and I see it as the age of consciousness. In this podcast that I'm giving to you live, for those of you who are joining in the replay, this is a live podcast on my channel. It is the Charmed Life podcast, and I'm Tricia Carr. I'm going to be talking about our modern era and especially AI, artificial intelligence, and how that is impacting, expediting, and what the drawbacks are for our ascension practice, our ascension progress, both individually and collectively. So stay tuned. Hello, hello. We have a few people who have joined us now live. This is Tricia Carr. I am an eco-spiritual teacher, a transpersonal hypnotherapist, an empathic channel, and I teach people how to expand their consciousness, create wealth and manifestation, and to open their psychic abilities. And why do I do that? This is a question that has been presenting lately a lot, not just for me personally, but as I work with people. Spirit has been bringing this question: why would someone want to open their psychic abilities? I think I'm going to do a whole different video on that, but the why, really, in order for it to be most helpful and relevant for you, needs to be moving through both your personal development and your spiritual development, and it must be ecological. I said I'm an eco-spiritual teacher, and what I mean by that is I teach nature and spirit. These two are one and the same. And honestly, that is how we manifest anything. If we want to have wealth, a relationship, or we want to have some kind of connection with others, or have a good life, or to connect with the beyond this life, or the above or within this life, however we want to be focusing on it at the time. It has to do with the frequency that we are holding, which then will attract nature to it, attract the elements to it. I'm going to get into that, all of that throughout this piece of work that we're going to be engaging in together. And if you're here live, say hello. And I see some folks saying hello. There's Tracy. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Kate. Oh, I love you guys so much. Hi, is that Lisa? Sorry, my eyes are a little bit of fuzzy today. Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. And Yvette. Oh, I miss you, Yvette. And then who else is this? Jennifer. Hi there. Oh, it's so nice to see you. I am just so pleased to be here with you guys. And if you're here live and you see me look that way, it's not because I'm looking at something else. I've got a larger screen right here. It makes it a little easier for me. So this is a live podcast. This will also be on my podcast feed, and there is a catalog of at least 400 episodes. I'm not sure. So I want to invite you to check that out. And then I also want to invite you to like, subscribe, share, comment, and click the little bell on this channel to get notifications for when I'm going live, and just when you can interact with the content. You can also leave comments to let me know what you would like to talk about. And by the way, is likely also now published on my podcast, as some people are listening to it that way. And I want to invite you over to the YouTube channel. All right, let's get into it, because I had on my heart to discuss today Ascension and AI. Now, AI, artificial intelligence, this is October of 2023. And of course, our artificial intelligence has been in our existence for a while, but it has really made a big surge into our common use. You might not realize it. It either you've been using now like ChatGPT or other kinds of artificial intelligence, and ChatGPT is just one thing. It's a language model. There's a lot of other AI that have come into commercial use or just regular consumer use. And it has happened really, really quickly. I have a benchmark for this. In January, February of 2023, I was teaching a course at HMI College of Hypnotherapy. I teach there. That's my alma mater for hypnotherapy, and I'm an associate instructor there. And I introduced in this class the language model ChatGPT. We had about, I think there were about 100 people in each. I taught the class like four, well, two times back to back one night, the same class when I taught the ChatGPT, and there was like 150. That's what it was, 150 students who came through it, and it was interactive. And I was talking to them how to use ChatGPT to help them to create some of their marketing content, some of their marketing copy. And I would say there were only about over of the 150, maybe 5 people who were even familiar with it and probably using it to some degree. And then I taught that same class again to the new cohort of students in August. And pretty much it was common knowledge, common conversation. There wasn't a single person that came across that and said, I don't know what that is. Maybe some people were saying, like, I don't really know how to use it yet, but everyone knew what it was. And it was like the opposite. There were probably very few people who didn't know how to use it, and everyone seemed to know what it was, what it is. So that is from February to August. That's what that's the 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. And now I know this is anecdotal, it's my sample set, but it's a pretty good sample of population, because people who are in school there, their age range is really wide. It's like people in their 20s and people in their 60s and everything in between. So that is kind of astounding if you stop and realize it. And what else is astounding about that is that I didn't notice how quickly that had moved until I looked at those 2 dates. It seemed natural. It seemed, I mean, in a manner, in one way, it kind of seems fast, but in another way, it didn't seem fast. It seemed like, okay, that just happened. But it is rapidly fast. So artificial intelligence, that's just, again, just taking the example of using language models like ChatGPT. It is what AI is doing for us in a positive sense is it is eliminating outdated remedial tasks. We're having to develop new skills in order to properly utilize all of the different kinds of AI that we have. If you're using Midjourney, which is an image generator, then you need to learn how to give it prompts that will give you what you want. But when you create that prompt, which is a set of instructions, same thing with language models like ChatGPT, you give it a set of instructions and it can do remarkable things lightning speed. Okay, it's really pretty easy. There's two very simple ways we can see how, if you're like, I don't really get it, I'm not using it, why would I want to use it? Well, think of how quick it is to look something up on Google now. Sometimes, with younger people, and I'm telling them the story about something I did in the 90s, because I'm 49. And so in the 90s, in 1994, I turned 20. So from 1994 to, let's say, 1999, it wasn't, I had an email address in 1998, I think, but I went to the library to look things up. It still wasn't until, like, honestly, 2005, until things were really like everything was online. And then I think iPhone came out, the smartphone came out in 2006. So anyway, in the 90s, and obviously even in the 80s, I was in high school, or junior high even, and elementary school. But anyway, and in the 90s, if I needed to know something, I had to ask people. How analog is that? Who knows if they would be right? Or go to the library and, like, what, look in an encyclopedia? And sometimes you need to know something, you don't even know how to look something up. So it's not just like, I want to know about aardvarks. And so I went to the library, got that first encyclopedia. Aardvark is spelled with 2 A's, pretty easy to find. And that one, you want to know about something, and you need to search a few things in order to get to the thing you want. And we do that now lightning speed by Googling it, right? So look at the amount of time that was compressed, actually speeding up time. And AI is taking that to an even greater speed, where we are expediting, actually, functionally speaking, time. with how we are bringing artificial intelligence into our reality. So, if we are talking about ascension, bring it into the spiritual side of things. If we're talking about ascension, now what is ascension before I continue? Ascension is us actually transcending ourselves, but not in the sense of going around. This is why I ask the question, why do you want to develop psychic abilities? Because if a person wants to develop psychic abilities so that they can feel the relief of their stress about survival, well, you still have to go through that energy. And your spiritual development or your psychic skills can only aid in that exact process. Because if we want to have something like psychic abilities or artificial intelligence as an escape of of actual development, we aren't actually then developing. So ascension is actually spirit becoming human and human ascending to spirit. It is what we bring through the physical life process. That is what the soul has sent us out to do. It is the primary, it is the focal point of intention of your soul, and we need to live it fully and fully committed and go through all of the lessons of it. And if there is any person who puts themselves up as some kind of guru or teacher who purports that they got to skip steps of life, I don't see how that's possible. That is not what our soul, that is not why your soul sent you here. Pardon me, because I have to cough a little bit. I'm going to press mute. This is clearing up some manifest. Did I turn my mic on? Yeah, okay. I get that when we're clearing, and the throat is the manifestation center. So I'm clearing manifestation blocks and or perhaps helping to reflect that for those of us who are on this live or on the replay of this, clearing manifestation blocks. Who doesn't want to do that? So ascension is actually transcendence. That means transcendence is the path through, not the path around, not the skipping of steps. We skip steps, we have to come back to them. And sometimes it's a bigger pain in the butt to go back to where that step that we had skipped. So now that's what ascension is. Now, ascension, and that's in a personal sense, really, is to actually move through the personal life, developing that hierarchy of self actualization so that then we can allow higher self to occupy personal self to live this life. Personal development and spiritual development go in tandem with one another if you are a way shower. And what I mean by a way shower, this is a person who is here so that their life can touch other lives. In that process, their life is fulfilled and overflowing. And then the primary, the headline of their life is that their life is to touch other lives, to help others, to be of service. Service to others includes an overflowing of service to self. So if one is a way shower, whether they awaken to that mission and purpose in this life or if they've come into this life with that stamp as the mission on their heart, then this means that if they come in, if you are a way shower in any sense, then your personal development is your spiritual development, and your spiritual development is your personal development. And by the way, when people start to get into manifestations, sometimes they want to hijack, if you will, or hack, let's say hack manifestation or law of attraction, because again, they're tired of how hard it is here. And yes, your spiritual development will help that process, but it doesn't allow you to skip the steps or skip the process of actually working through how hard it is. Essentially, your spiritual development, your personal development make you strong enough to move the things that are hard in this life, not to go around, not to walk around the things that are hard in this life, but to be able to lift them with strength and courage. And that's so there we go, personal ascension and personal spiritual development. Now, the planet is ascending. That is a scientific fact because we have something called the Schumann resonance, which measures the frequency of the Earth. And it is rising at a speed that it hasn't in recorded history. Well, since we've had the Schumann resonance, obviously. And so it is rising at a speed that it hasn't. So it is in effect, the planet is ascending whether we want to or not. And you know what? There's a discordance that we can see in how we are not taking care of the planet. We're not taking care of the environment. We're not taking care of where we live. We are creating, um, creating disease. The environment, climate crisis, these devastating landfills. What's supposed to happen? The pollution that we are creating, and the way that we're polluting our own individual bodies as well. If we pollute the earth, we are polluting our body. We are one and the same. And so the planet is ascending, and we can get on it or get off of it. That's kind of how it is. If this discordance gets too steep, then there just will be there. She doesn't need us to ascend. She is on her own ascension path, and she offers us a ticket. And so this is a personal work and a collective work. So that's Ascension. How does AI factor into this? Well, it factors into it in the sense that if you look again, just how much faster the internet and being able to search for something, being able to research something has made things. But then we still have to learn it, right? So we can't bypass it. We can't just go, well, I printed this up, so here it is. No, we still have to absorb it. It still has to become a part of us. But it does eliminate a lot of remedial tasks. So it eliminated me having to drive or walk to the library. I used to walk to the library in the 90s because I lived so close to it. And I try not to drive if I really don't have to. And I walk to the library and be on that computer, maybe if they had the internet, or even before the internet, just look. And by the way, the internet wasn't that useful in 96, not as useful as it is now. Looking up and getting books, looking at encyclopedias, finding books to research. That book gave me a little bit of information. I had to read the whole thing to even find out. It gave me some information to spark my interest to go somewhere else. The rabbit holes they had a much steeper path, that when going down a rabbit hole, now you can go down a rabbit hole and there's one thing after another, and the algorithm is helping you to get new ideas and all of that. So time has been sped up because it has eliminated remedial tasks. And so we can embody the wealth of that. And AI has made it speed up so much more. But what are we going to do with that? And what are we going to do with that energy that we have retained, the life force energy we have retained by not doing the remedial tasks? How are we going to utilize it? How can we make it more ecological too? Because that is how things can actually unfold for us. So AI has, in all intents and purposes, it's eliminating remedial tasks. It is speeding up reality. If it's not speeding up time, it's speeding up our relationship to time, because it is speeding up our reality. And the thing that is an issue here is that we need to become really present and aware to artificial intelligence and the internet. We're still in growing pains of how the information age, which is what we are ascending from, how the information age we've allowed it to become our master. I did a video. I'm going to show it to you. How long ago? 3 years ago. So in 2020, it was pre-pandemic. I can tell you what the date is. And this video was a download about how the internet, social media, broadcast media is, in our awareness, it is like the fourth dimension being made real to us. And when I say fourth dimension, you can think of it correlating with hell. And not necessarily. The fourth dimension is just basically the dimension that is non physical, that has our thoughts and emotions, and it has the concept of time, but not in a way that is organized. Because if we isolate it, and it's not connected to 3D or beyond to 5D, then it's pretty useless. How useless is time if it isn't helping us to organize our life? And how useless is a thought if it doesn't create health for us? And that's something we're all dealing with all the time, right? How to allow our thoughts and our feelings to align with health and you might just say abundance, because we're talking about well-being, and we're talking about needing things like shelter and money. And if my life is to touch others' lives, then I need an overflowing of that so I can be out there and not, working a remedial task over and over. But the thing with the internet and with us, it taking us in all the time, how many hours we spend on it, the things that show up in both broadcast media, social media, and how it is in our mind, and the landscape of our awareness, the landscape of our consciousness, it is, without it having a proper function to feed us healthfully, then it is just chaotic. And when it is untethered like that, yet it has light and sound. Light and sound both are particular matter. It is a form of matter. It's actual particle matter. So if I'm just thinking a thought, that's one thing. That is much looser, and that's something that is happening in that fourth dimension. We call it hell if it's all the negative stuff, right? When I'm having a bad, bad, bad thought, that's hell on earth, hell in me, right? And so the collective scape of the fourth dimension, where all of our bad, chaotic, fearful things are happening, that is us creating basically what I would say hell, or just a very negative collective unconscious awareness. And so if I have a thought and it's just happening up here, it makes me feel bad. And so it actually does start to manifest, because it changes how my heart beats, and it changes how my nervous system is firing. And so it is starting to create a physical reality. And your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between manifested reality and unmanifested reality, because it's just perceiving, it's just reading your thoughts and your feelings. So it actually is starting to create a reality. But when it is presented to us as a light and soundscape, and it comes to us this way, there is a sort of triggered to us that makes it very close to physical reality, because it is a physical reality. And so it is as though through the internet, through social media and these broadcast media and everything, and the news and all of that, this negative experience is becoming realized in us in a different way. It used to be you had to wait for the newspaper to show up on the doorstep, and then you read it and you looked at pictures. It wasn't as animated, it wasn't as alive, and it wasn't as constant. And so I did this. I'll play like a little video excerpt from this, and you can check it out. I actually put it in the comments already. I'm going to share screen. Take me just one second. It is the dimension of the mental and emotional, and that's what that root PSYCH means. It means mental and emotional and spiritual, and it means all of those things. And so this is what 4D is. Now I'm going to tell you something a little bit radical too. I'm going to tell you that 4D is basically hell. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying it has to be. I'm just saying, if there is a hell, we will find it in the depths of our most negative and repetitive thoughts and feelings, our most repetitive and negative thoughts and feelings. That is what hell is from this perspective. Like if you think of the mythology of religious books of the Bible, which I think is a very magical book as well, and I do a little series, The Metaphysics of the Bible. I believe that this concept of hell is something that we can experience in any moment, and we experience through that psychic energy in your psyche. And so if you become discarnate, if you die, you pass away, your consciousness disconnects from creating the physical body, and the repetitive thoughts and feelings continue. Those thought forms are enhanced, those thought forms about fear and pain and suffering and death and all of those negative things, then that is hell. And if you have a belief, a thought form, that there is an outside authoritative energy that creates the suffering, then that's what you will experience. And that is what we experience even before we become discarnate. So that was something I did 3 years ago, and as the reason I'm bringing this up is because we actually have still not quite crossed the threshold of being more sovereign in our relationship with broadcast media and social media and everything. There are children who are addicted, absolutely addicted to digital technologies, to where they are incapacitated, like as if they were on, not just as if, they are on, it is doing a same thing to their brains as being on drugs, like really, really heavy drugs. So if we haven't been able to keep that drug away from our children and ourselves, then we need to look at that, and we need to start to anchor our sovereignty. Now, this doesn't mean that we have to, I actually am not suggesting that we stop using the internet or broadcast media or social media. I'm also not I'm also not suggesting that we stop using artificial intelligence. I'm just bringing into our awareness that we have some things to work on, some things to consider. Because all of what we've been experiencing with the internet and where it is still going toward the metaverse is actually speeding up even more with artificial intelligence, and when metaverses are created. Metaverses are basically the internet immersed in a virtual reality. Because if we don't have that sovereignty, and just imagining that if we add light and sound, then we start adding more faster tools and a sort of intelligence to our interaction with it, we're we need to gain that awareness a lot more. And I'll give you an example. People using, for example, just again, this is one of the simplest, as in it's not as advanced as some other AI language model like Chat GPT. And people don't recognize that ChatGPT doesn't have authority. There was someone who, I see this in some forums that I'm in, like Facebook groups about ChatGPT and stuff like that, how to use it. And what ChatGPT or what language models are is, it is a database that can use a little bit of savvy to put together what it thinks you want. But if you don't give it enough information, you don't give it enough instructions, if you don't take enough authority over it, then it'll just give you what it can infer that you want. And it isn't a fact machine. And but people don't realize that. So there was this one post where this person said, um, I asked ChatGPT what this expert thinks about this concept. And the expert that this person was citing actually spoke against that concept. So let's say if if I said, what does um, what does Jesus think about murdering people? Just to make it a really silly example. And ChatGPT said, Jesus was an advocate of murdering people. And it just said that back. Yeah, I mean, we're all aware that, I mean, we don't assume that, but I just don't want to use anyone's, real identity. And this person in the forum said, is it possible that this expert, that this Jesus changed his mind at some point and he used to think that murdering people was something to do? No, ChatGPT is not an authority. It was inferring what that person wanted to hear. And but the thing is, it's still not, people don't realize that. They think it is of, people are interacting with it because it has a shade of being able to have a conversation or to produce something that is like human connection, but it's only like human connection. And I know I've heard a younger person say, I fired my therapist because I just tell ChatGPT to pretend like a therapist and talk to me. I mean, these are kind of, you might think these are like silly examples, but it is, and it is still early in the process. But this is something we need to be aware of, and this is a very small example of it. Now, the other thing too is, if we give over on the spiritual side of it, if we give over our sovereignty to AI, and we allow it to tell us, give our authority to it, there is actually, where we give our consciousness to it, we give our essence to it, then in a spiritual view, entities can occupy AI if we basically call it in. It's not really that radical if you think about it. There are entities occupying all kinds of electronic communications or digital communications. It happens. And but it could get much more profound. And actually, there already are entities occupying some of the AI that we have on this planet. But it's, but we, it will just be like, it will just be a security issue if we do take back our consciousness, we take back our awareness, and we take back our sovereignty, or if we just hold our sovereignty and learn how this is meant to be a facility to us, to raise the ground for us so that it eliminates remedial tasks and that we aren't bypassing our work in the process, our development, better said, than work. So finally, I just want to say there was a class that I did in Modern Mystic, which then it was called Mystic Arts Academy, and I think it was 3 years ago or maybe more. And it was called Metatron and the Metaverse. And one or two people here. Hi Alex. I mean, hi Alexis and hi Nate. Hi Deanne. Nice to see you guys. So, um I wanted to say, I was saying that, oh yeah, I did this class, this workshop called Metatron and the Metaverse, because Metatron, the Archangel Metatron, I was pulling in information from Metatron that where we're going with the metaverse, that as we are, that the commodity in the age of consciousness is our conscious awareness. And to backtrack, to give some context there, in the information age, are the commodity for to be made a lot of money on, that could be taken advantage of, and it was our data. That makes sense, right? Information, data. And so, like Meta, Facebook got into a lot of trouble because they got proven that they didn't care, that they were allowing our data to be taken and utilized. Now, once again, it's not that much of a problem if we have sovereignty. They have my data, so they can sell to me, but I still have the sovereignty to not be hypnotized into buying things. So I can be impervious to the fact that my data has been accessed. And if we go back to the industrial age, when we had machines that sped things up, machines then create, uh, you know, can create fabric instead of sewing it stitch by stitch, instead of weaving it by hand. Machines can do this now, can put together cars instead of having to weld and everything, sped things up. And so the commodity at that time during the industrial age was just our money to be able to buy more products, because they could make more products could be made, so they needed more products to be purchased. So that was our commodity at the time, was just actually our cash, then our data. Now it's our consciousness. Now it's our conscious awareness, or our essence. And when I talked about this 3 years ago, I just said it like that. The commodity now is our consciousness, and it's our awareness. And the people who were present, they were like, "What does that look like, or what does that mean?" And I honestly didn't know. I was like, "I don't know. That's just what they're telling me. That's what Metatron's telling me." And fast forward now, and that's what is happening. And by the way, you know about the strikes that are happening in Hollywood. Well, the writer strike has been resolved as I'm offering this podcast. Actors are still in negotiations, and it's so funny because Hollywood tends to be the projection screen for what's going on in our society, which, like, how could it get more perfect? Of course, they're the projection screen. But 2008, there was a strike as well, and it was the forerunner to what was going on. It was we had the financial collapse. Then the housing market collapsed. That all happened, and there's a eerie, but also in a way you like. Well, I guess it makes sense. Alignment of Hollywood going through some turmoil right at the precipice of everything else, of other things going through turmoil in our culture. So anyway, um, one example of what actors and writers are basically trying to take back their consciousness, trying to take back their essence. Actors are their performance, they give a performance, and because they have AI, because they can deep fake things, because they have the recording of their voice and their image and everything, they can recreate scenes and not hire the actor for them. So they're taking a photocopy, so to speak, of their essence. They're taking parts of their essence and reconfiguring it and cutting the actual human being out of the process. 3 years ago, I said, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm like, holy fuck, I can't believe this, that there's examples of it that I can see because I didn't even know what it was then. And we were talking about it. That is what that it is taking. And so that is, yes, that's a Hollywood actor. That can happen to us as well. That can happen to individuals. So once again, we need to be sober and sovereign as we embark in how we are using AI as a tool, because it is a tool that will facilitate our ascension, cutting out remedial tasks. But we need to be aware and we need to not give our sovereignty over. We're still cleaning up how our money is taken from us, and how our data is taken from us. And so we need to be really present to this. And yet at the same time, it's very exciting. And yet at the same time, the opportunity is big. And so if you're wondering, like, well, are you saying I need to get an expert in ChatGPT? I'm not saying you have to do anything right now. It's the being, it's our awareness. It is being more present to our life. It's being more present in our personal and spiritual development in tandem, and just also utilizing logic, because we get hypnotized by these new things that are flashing before us. It triggers us into a state that makes us hyper suggestible. So we need to be able to stay awake. I'll leave it at that. I'm sure there will be more details later. And so that's what I wanted to say about AI and Ascension. And at the end of the day, it is really exciting because reality is speeding up and we are given the opportunity to stay with Mother Earth as she ascends. But all of this has to be working toward ecology, meaning we are an ecosystem. We're an ecosystem of natural beings, of physical beings, and we are an ecosystem of spiritual beings. And there is no separation between spirit and nature or nature and spirit. So as we harm the earth, we are ultimately harming ourselves. As we are, spending time feeding our consciousness with junk food and poisoning our consciousness, we are ultimately poisoning all of us, because this is a unified experience. There is no separation among us. I'm going to see what your comments are. As you mentioned earlier, it's impacting the therapy field in positive and less positive ways. Absolutely, isn't it? Kate, as a therapist, you're going to have to develop a whole new set of skills of how to treat, maybe, I mean, I don't know if this would be in your scope or not, but digital addictions, waking people up from the things that are causing fear that they're not accustomed to dealing with, because things are moving fast, because reality is manifesting in different ways. I mean, yeah. And so we need to be really present to ourselves and to what's happening here. And Jennifer said, mic drop. Thanks. And Alexis said, wow. And then Nate said, hi. So I wanted to talk to you guys about some other things too. I wanted to give you samples of some things that I have coming up, because I have so much coming up. I just am on a tear. I'm in an awakening of sorts, a minor awakening. And it is prompted me to begin creating a lot. So I would love for you to be on my mailing list, and the best way you can do that is actually just to go to my my website, and you can join it there. There will be a pop-up, but I'll put it also in the comments here in a second. So I wanted to tell you about a few things that I have coming up that are very exciting and give you little samples of it. And so first of all, I have coming up a spirit animal manifestation workshop. So I had as a part of this awakening that I'm in, was the awareness that you have to be on an intentional growth trajectory, because in the areas of your personal development, your spiritual development, and inside those, it is actually developing consciousness tools, that for some is psychic abilities or intuitive abilities, or your own personal intuition for your life, and also your manifestation practice. Because if you aren't working on these intentionally, not just maintaining, because maintenance doesn't work on these areas. Maintenance, you will catch a downward spiral for two reasons. First, individually, our primal mind, our lower mind, and our, you might call it our ego, has a negativity bias. And that is because it believes that we need to look out for fear, and that we have to not do things that are new because they can't be proven. So you can see how that can catch us on a downward spiral if we're not really paying attention to it and intentionally moving it up to the higher mind, and letting the higher mind push against our ceiling of homeostasis in all of these areas of personal and spiritual development. And also because the context that we're in, with the noise of our collective human ego or unconsciousness, is it's like being in a sea of negativity. So that's another way that we will catch a downward spiral. And I actually did a webinar 2 days ago, and I talked about how to be impervious to that matrix, if you will, of that negativity. It's a free webinar. You can get the replay. Again, join my mailing list, but I may put it on the YouTube channel at some time. And so, anyway, the other thing is, among that, is that I haven't been paying enough specific growth attention to manifestation, to actually, it was like Mother Gaia and Spirit came and knocked on my head and said, "Yo, the resources need to be changed. The river of resources need to go into the to the stewardship of wayshowers or compassionate people." And it isn't important. Your lack mentality, your old traumas, the stuff that, happened in your childhood that programmed and conditioned you to not believe in yourself to be able to make money or whatever, that is nowhere near as important as being able to help others. And I was like, "Oh, you're right. So I need to stop shadow boxing those old things and move forward." They're there. I'm working on them, of course, but I need to not paying them so much attention, and I need to start being of service that way. And so all of my programs lately have really had that as at least one of the pillars, the manifestation. Because I think we're how many, the movie The Secret came out in 2006, I think, and we're that far beyond the law of attraction hitting mainstream in a certain way, and the message was at least incomplete and not exactly correct in a lot of ways. And at best, law of attraction is a subordinate universal law, and it is about our resonance. And that's how we become what we are, which includes having things. You become the one who has the resources that you can then create containers of help and healing for. So manifestation has become a big part of it. And so this spirit animal workshop that I have is going to be so rad. It is, here, I'll share screen to show you a little bit about it. It is happening on October 29th, and that's, just right in the area of Halloween or All Hallows, and Samhain, which is the pagan holiday of that. Here, that's not it. I wanted to show you. Oh, here it is. So this is happening on the 29th. So we're taking advantage of the energies of the veil thinning. And boy, have I had clients and students lately dealing with what's being dusted up as the veil is thin. And so I'm going to be I've never actually taught a full workshop this way, giving the strategies of how I utilize, if you will, spirit animals. And it's so I'll just tell you. So it's $44, but if you belong to Modern Mystic, you have a deep discount to $11.11. So if you join Modern Mystic, which is only $11 a month, and if you only even join it for 1 month, which I hope you'll stay though, then you would get this workshop for $22. You know what I mean? So um, basically go to my website and, well, I can put in the chat here, the Modern Mystic. The let's go subscription. Again, this is live produced, y'all. I don't have a producer here with me. Here's Modern Mystic. It's an $11 subscription a month. You get a workshop and a live meditation and content throughout the week as well. And the community is amazing. So if you join that hangout, you'll be able to get that promo code for it. I mean, the coupon code for $11 for that spirit animal workshop. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about it and give you a little sample of the lessons. And even if you don't join the workshop, you can probably take some of this to your contemplation and see what you can do with it. So some things I'm going to talk about and way I teach spirit animals, the way I've been using spirit animals for myself and my clients. We have how animals are making appearances for us. And that could be repetitive, or it could be in odd places, or doing something that is really it just catches your attention for whatever reason. Or you can actually turn to an animal in your, if it's in the wild or one of your own animals, one of your animal family members, and you can spend some time with them, pay attention to them, and you will be able to divine a message from them. And I'll be able to contextualize it for you so that you feel like how you can use that as a skill. But one thing here, I'll give you an example of how when they show up in an unusual way. I was teaching, and I was teaching at my home studio, and I have these windows like that are in front of me that I'm facing. The camera's facing me this way, and they're facing that way. And I was teaching about something, and it had to do with abundance. I was talking about abundance, and then caught my eye, which I was looking at the screen, but this squirrel caught my eye, jumped like right in my view, right on the wall. Like, so here's the camera, and the squirrel jumps right here. And he has an avocado in his mouth, and he's like, "Ah, ah," and it's so heavy, he drops it a couple of times, and then he like stumbles off with it. And, an avocado is actually a nut, and squirrels eat nuts. But he had the biggest, fattest nut to where it was so much, he had to gain new skills to be able to support it. I'm like, that's abundance. And that squirrel showed up for us to be able to connect with this is what is offered to you. It wants to be with you. This kind of abundance wants to be with you. Mother Nature has created it, and it is ripe for the picking for you. And you can hold it. You can hold that much wealth. You can hold that much abundance. So that was a really stunning example of how animals are appearing and how is this happening. This isn't just some like woo woo thing. Animals are open vessels for divine, because animals don't have this human brain that is getting all mixed up with languages and limiting thoughts. They have the mammalian brain, which we share with them, which is emotional and which is relational, and they are close to the frequency of the earth, and they naturally fall into ecosystem, where this is a sea of energy and everything feeds the other. Do you know how they say that squirrels lose 80%, talking about squirrels lose 80% of the nuts that they hide, because they take them and they hide them everywhere so they can get them later. They lose 80% of them. But that's how forests are born, because of how they have planted all of those seeds. Ooh, I get chills every time I think about that. All of those acorns become mighty oaks, 80% of the ones that the squirrels are hiding. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about how to give spirit animal readings. And there are ways that I actually look at the animals and what they're offering, whether it's the activity, their behavior, what they offer to nature, but also things like how their bodies are composed. And then I align that with what is called body syndromes. So a body syndrome is basically when it's like parts therapy. When you have an illness or an injury in a certain part of your body, there is an energetic reason for it. And you can actually look at the organic link. Let's say if I have a pinched nerve in my shoulder, I have a pain in the neck, you know, I'm bearing the weight. I'm bearing too much weight. I have a burden, the things that the shoulder would be talking about. So that's what body syndromes are. And we can actually bring that into how animals are appearing for us either in the natural world or in spirit as messengers, as guardians. And then I also am going to teach something that I've never taught before, which is a spirit animal embodiment practice. And there are actually, I'm getting chills again. There are a lot of famous people who actually have done this, like Kobe Bryant did this. He didn't call it a spirit animal embodiment. But the reason that I don't know if you know Kobe, I love Kobe, and it makes me sad every time I remember that he's gone. Kobe actually called himself Black Mamba, which is the name of a snake. And it was because he embodied these qualities of the black mamba snake to become a champion, to move. And he actually adopted that when there was this time when he was really low, maybe in some kind of depression state, and he adopted black mamba. And so I'm going to teach us how to, so this is a sneak peek, I hadn't said it in public yet. We're going to talk about how to do that. And actually, if you are a reader, if you are an intuitive, or you have the opportunity to then also take this workshop and join one of my sacred spheres, which I'm going to tell you about, and demonstrate a reading for me. And I will give you a certified spirit animal practitioner certification, if you like. I said it twice, but so anyway, but the cool thing about this is that it very much aligns with the season, with Samhain and with All Hallows. Whereas, when you put on a Halloween costume, didn't you love doing that as a kid? Maybe you still do as an adult, and you felt like you wanted to behave like that, and it kicked up some different energy in you. We're going to do it in a deep and real practice. We're going to do it in a deep way. So that's what we are uncovering in the Spirit Animal Workshop. Let me see. Hi, Alex. I see you there. So, okay, the next thing I wanted to tell, and let me put that up there, the Spirit Animal Workshop. I'm so excited about it. I have a link here. And let me know what you think about this stuff. If you have any questions about the things that that is the Spirit Animal one. It's the one that says myspiritualacademy.com. And so there's that. Next thing I wanted to tell you about is the Fairy Workshop. It's not a workshop, it's a course. And I'm very excited about this too. Very excited. And it is also utilizing the energies of the season that we're in, because as I said, the veil is very thin right now. And this is, here we go. Okay. Fairies and nature elementals. So this is, you're going to learn the technique of healing and manifesting with our nature guides. And it's also very experiential. And what I mean by that is there are going to be a lot of spiritual experiences that I'm leading, as in trance journeying, as in energy exercises. And so you can come to just receive the healing. And you can also come if you are a reader and you want to learn a new skill for other people. But if you want to learn this for yourself. Now, I want to tell you that some people may think that it's really woo-woo to be talking about fairies. People say airy fairy. But the thing is, there's a reason why these entities are a part of folklore, why children see them, because it's real. And I'll frame it for you. You can, even if you don't believe in fairy spirits or gnomes or anything like that, you can still benefit by this because you can accept it as hypnotic imagery. So I actually like to look at both sides, because I also, as I'm always talking about, I don't want us to give over, think that we can escape reality by having fairies take care of us. Fairies are actually, and nature spirits, they're very primal, and they want us to be standing shoulder to shoulder with them, taking care of ourselves, because taking care of ourselves is taking care of the earth. But the really amazing thing is that they are on the brink of manifestation, these kinds of spirit guides, because they are, if you probably know, if you probably heard, even if you don't know entirely, that the way that we change things is to change our subconscious, the beliefs that we know. Everyone knows, okay, I have to change my beliefs. If you're a spiritual seeker of any kind, change my beliefs to change my life. Those are held in your subconscious. And the subconscious is this liminal space. Liminal means like threshold, it's an inter-between space. And that's where these nature spirits exist. And they are at the brink as I mentioned earlier, as we create a state, as we create a resonance, as we create a sovereign identity about who I am, I become the who I am, who has the things that I desire, whether it's money, relationships, or the activities that I'm engaging in from day to day, such as a career. That is, I become the who I am, and then the things show up. We create an energetic frequency, we create an energetic vibration, which becomes a frequency that is magnetic, and that magnet signals to elements to create reality. A human being is made up of 4 elements, of physical elements, right? It's made up of air, fire, water, and earth. And it's also made up of a 5th element, which is aether, which, by the way, is spirit or essence, which is why we can't just give ourselves over to AI, because AI doesn't have that 5th essence. Anyway, put back. I come back. I digress a bit. I come back. So it signals those 4 elements to then allow that human being as a relationship to come to you, or to allow the opportunities of collaboration to be able to manifest the abundance in your life. And these nature spirits are abundance. That's what they know. So essentially, they are like the actors of our collective subconscious, or of the earth's subconscious. They are at that threshold. So working with them, and they give us very practical guidance. For example, I had on Sunday in Modern Mystic, we did a 2-hour workshop where I channeled Archangel Raphael for everyone who was there. And I stayed in the channeled mode for the whole time while people, a moderator took questions. And was it? No, it wasn't in this week. It was in the Michael one from last month. And when a person asked about, what do I need to know about my job, basically Archangel Michael told them that, and this is on my YouTube channel if you want to watch it, that if they tend to their nervous system and create the right balance of the fire element within them, not too raging so that it would burn down the manifestation before it happened, which would be like anxiety, or not too low so that you didn't have the fuel to even begin to create the manifestation, that is actually how you'll become more magnetic. It will balancing the fire within you in your nervous system, and also the spiritual essence of fire will make it so that you are who you are, that will be in the relationships like a job, so that people will be able to recognize you for the skills and gifts and talents that you have to contribute to a work situation. With the fire being off, they can't recognize you for who you really are. So you see how that is how nature spirits will coach us to in practical ways. But then again, we're going to be an immersive experiencing with this. There's going to be a lot of not just meditations, but energy practices, and also I'm going to be using some instruments, let's just say that, to really help us to induce into these liminal spaces. And just to also point out one thing, there the teaser of all the curriculum is pretty much there. And oops, not a video file. And there is you'll find as not slides. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Share screen, that's what I'm trying to do. You'll be able to go through and just like read all about it. Is this the fairy one? Fairy, fairy, fairy. Fairies at the very top of my list here. So we're going to connect with Gaia. We're going to talk about exceptional human experiences where we're actually grounding that we can live a life of mystical experiences, right? Or miracles, if you will. And that I will give you a way to give yourself permission to live that way without having doubt, and without having, oh, that's woo woo, as something that, is in our awareness. The Davis and Faye, this will be opening ourselves up. I'll be talking about who's there, what's there, what you can interact with, and then, just give examples of that, because it's truly infinite. And of course, it varies with our cultures too. fire, and then we're going to talk about a special divination and invocation practice, and then the health and wealth. Now, then you get to go to the sacred sphere, which is the place where we come together in community and we practice. We practice manifestation, we practice intuition, we practice psychic abilities, giving readings, but you don't have to practice those things. You can just receive also. But then we take it into this practical, like if you think about a college course with a lab. And so we have two of those. And then I just wanted to point out this one here. See, we're going to talk about the sun and the moon, and then incarnated elementals. And so that's a teaser that I'm not going to reveal. You'll just have to join to find out. Incarnated elemental beings. I think it's fun. Let's see, what does Brandy say? I would love to communicate with nature spirits. Yeah, they would love to communicate with you too. And then what does Tracy say? Uh, we could just teach the fairies to chop wood and carry water. Oh, yeah. But then we wouldn't be, then we'd become couch potatoes, right? They can direct us in which ways are easiest to accomplish those tasks. So we can ask them for support about which wood is in the highest good for me to chop right now, and how is my energy about it? Can you help to attune to my energy? I don't know, I'm just trying to think of some things to help us with that. All right. So now I want to talk to you about sacred sphere, and in this I want to share with you, again, I'm trying to give you some samples of teaching, even if you don't take these, that you'll take some inspiration away for how you can curate this in your own experience. Now, Sacred Sphere we meet twice per month. It's usually the second and fourth Sundays of the month. But, like in Christmas time, I think it changes because of the holidays or something. And it's when you subscribe, it's $55 for both sessions. And it's amazing. The community is incredible. You can come just to give readings, to learn new manifestation and intuition techniques. Now, the thing I wanted to highlight for you is community. That's how we are going to change this world. It is also, people who are here can attest to this, because I know they've been in community. If you're feeling like you don't fit in anywhere, no one else gets it, no one else is as compassionate as you, no one else has that vision, you need to be in spiritual communities. You need to be in a spiritual development community, a personal and spiritual development community, because not only will it make you feel like you're not insane, it will empower you. You will see others having their experiences. We get to borrow from one another's energy expansion by being in company with one another. This is what a session looks like. And also, I wanted to just share with you I'm going to share with you a little of a lesson from one of these, from the first one that we had, which was just last month. And so, again, a little bit of a teaching for you to take away. Take me 1 second to cue it up. So I want to say about manifestation piece of it. The lessons will usually probably all I'm going to just say it's going to have as the focal point, just for a matter of ease, manifesting resources. That means money, as well as what is implied in that is anything else that we want to manifest. You can take these lessons and point them at relationships, a career, your psychic abilities. You can point them at, because they're just really universal principles. But the reason this is focused on resources such as money is because this is a part of what I have been receiving as a download, is that it's really time for people who are way showers, as we are. The time that we are on this planet right now, the currency, meaning the frequency, current again and again is a frequent again and again, right? That is right now money. And many of us who are sensitive, compassionate, we have either settled, or we have, and I mean, settled isn't, even if you're doing really, really well, what if you had even more that you could flow? And we can change the trajectory of how this planet and this human race is not in the optimal, compassionate space that it could be. So, I mean, that was just me talking about how the circle is going to go, how the sphere is going to go. And, but, creating community, being in community, this is see, here's the thing. when I was a kid, I took myself to church. My family didn't go to church. I actually sort of raised myself in the church. And when it was time for me to exit the church because the church had no longer it was no longer beneficial to me because there was dogma and there was this sort of oppression of imposing authority upon me instead of helping me to develop. That's how it felt for me. And I don't mean to talk about bad about anyone else's experience in religion, but essentially religion seems to be it is already, but I would say it is already an outdated spiritual technology. And so a technology is anything, it's not just computers. Technology means a system, something that helps us to organize and to expedite and to focus and to assist us. And so even something like a religion or a spiritual practice is a technology. And it is really antiquated now because a part of how religion worked before was there wasn't a lot of information. There wasn't the availability of all the information. So being able to use allegory and as if it were literal, there was no way for someone to fact check that back then. Also, the one of the main reasons why religion is antiquated and outdated is because religions, almost all of them, were created so long ago that the rules, and that's another problem with it, the rules that are included in there are just harmful. I mean, they were harmful then, but now we have a big awareness about how harmful they were. That that people should be oppressed, that you're you are broken if you are gay or something like that, or sinful. Even the idea of sin, that sin is something that is like you're a bad person, when actually the word sin and the etymology of the word means to miss the mark. It means to be, it's a trial and error. So how could I be bad if trial and error is the most primitive and fundamental way that humans do learn? You couldn't possibly learn anything if you didn't have trial and error. And that's what a lot of religions say, that when you make a mistake, when you make an error, you're a bad person. And now that'll drive anyone to want to hurt someone, right? Or hurt themselves. How can you do it then? So that the religions are antiquated, that technology is no longer serving us. However, being able to go somewhere to be with other people where there's people there still, and there are a lot of people there who really want to love and who want to be devoted to development and who have this sense of, when I pray, I bring a Holy Spirit into me, meaning a holistic, unifying, loving essence within me. And it is me as well because it lives in me. Those are some of the bones of how I did develop while I was in religion. I wouldn't say religion developed me as much as I developed while I was in religion, because there was the places and spaces that was dedicated to that, and community is a part of that. And the way that our modern society is, there isn't a lot of community, or if there is, it's like a work environment where you're not there for the purpose of spiritual development or personal development in that way. It's like you need to be have lines and boundaries. And so that's what this is. It's the good stuff from what church would give. That's how I see it. I don't want to say it's a church, but because it's not church. It is, but there are some of the community, the qualities of community there, plus some teaching, plus some asking question, plus some, experiencing who you really are and witnessing others doing this as well. So that's sacred sphere. Yeah. All right. I wanted to drop in there for you a bit about yeah, community. Well, that's about it. I have a few other things too that I'll just share with you. I have Empowered Empath, which is for those of you who are highly empathic. Kate's a part of that. We're actually it's just $177. By the way, all of these things, except for the workshop's just a one and done. But like the fairy and nature elemental course, you can do a 3-month or a 6-month payment plan. So you can make it really, and there's also something called Afterpay, which is a buy now, pay later kind of thing. And I think it's a kind of credit without giving you a hard ding on your credit. I just saw it offered by my platform, and I guess some other people are already using it. So that's available now. And but Empath too, it's you can do a 6-month payment plan, so it's really easy on the budget. It is there's a student portal with lessons and meditations that are already there that will help you with this empathic nature, to help you to be able to be strong in it, so it can be the sensitive superpower that it's meant to be. And we meet once a month, and we love on each other. It's so amazing. And then finally, if you are interested in learning a bit about human design, if you're interested in having just a grip of really awesome meditations, and also a grip of lessons on divination and things like that, that's what this is. It's my easy intuition and meditation, helping you to connect with your own intuition in a new way. Hope maybe it'll trigger an awakening in your intuition experience in a new way. And then the meditation to help to facilitate that, because it is working with our own energy that gives us the capacity to manifest. And it's really inexpensive. It's $98, and it's delivered as a 30-day journey to keep you on a pace. And then you have access to it for a whole year. So you for a whole year keep going back to the different meditations you want to do. All right. What else is up with you guys? Thank you for being here with me. It's so nice to be here. I was over an hour. I had so much fun. Thank you for being here. Well, that's what I have for you. I will be back next week doing a live Charmed Life podcast with a guest. And I just hope, again, join that newsletter, because today I wrote a little blurb about what you can do with the waxing crescent moon energy. It's not all about the full and the new moon. We got other beautiful lunar phases that are stoking us and that can counsel us. And actually, we're going to talk about that in the fairy class as well, but is helping us to, be on our path of creation and manifestation. So, all right. That's what I have for you guys. Check it all out. I can't wait to connect with you. Oh, also Modern Mystic, because I'm doing these channeled workshops regularly now, and they are bonkers. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but they are for me. And so check out all that stuff. If you go to my website, triciacarcharm.com, you go to courses and it drops down and you'll be able to find these things. And then, of course, the podcast, Charmed Life with Tricia Carr. And well, you're on the YouTube channel probably. So those are the things. I'm on Instagram as well. I like Instagram, but sometimes I take a little bit of a break from it. So, but I'd love to connect with you there or anywhere. So thanks for being the way shower that you are. Thank you so much, Deanne. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.